So we're here with Dr. Jim Higgins, the Heritage Officer here for Galway City Council, and we're going to ask him about some of the work that's been ongoing in the castle. But before we start with what's ongoing now, how did you get involved with Merlin Castle and what is the history of your involvement?
All goes back a long time. I was mitching from school in the 1970s and I used to go up to Merlin Castle and I used to love the place. I know, but seriously, I always loved the castle and I always thought it would be great to see it restored. Now, I became Heritage Officer in 1999 and one of the first things I had to do was put together a conservation, well, it was a plan, a heritage plan.
Yeah.
And one of the things in the heritage plan is that we aim to restore Merlin Park Castle, Minlow Castle and Terryland Castle.
Brilliant.
So that's been there from the very, very start. And given that it's in the heritage plan is adopted by the councillors and the councillors vote on it. So it's the official policy of the council. So if that's the official policy of the council, that's the aim and that's what should be done. So it's taken a long time to get to this stage where the physical work is actually being done, but we're there now. We're actually getting physical work done on the castle. So being in the heritage plan, it means that money has to be allocated to it. A couple of years ago the councillors voted 1.5 million to be allocated over 4 years for the castle.
That's a great amount of money, but obviously castles take a lot of money for restoration.
Yeah, but this is it. You see, you won't be all attached on wallpaper for 1.5 million either. And I mean, what happens sometimes is with the best will in the world, the councillors will vote a certain amount of money and then other pressures will come on the councillors and the part of the money will be allocated to something else. And that happened in this case. But we have most of the money and we've got money from other sources as well. So one of the boons to us in the last couple of years was the new fund, the Community Monuments Fund. So that was offered for the first time in 2020 and we went for it. And we got 30,000 for the castle. So that was pretty good for a first application. Then it was good, and then for 2021 we applied again. And we were lucky enough to get 100,000 for the Three Castles project. And we also got about 95,000 for the Spanish Arch.
Brilliant.
So that money is there, so the councillors have voted some money. Quite a substantial amount of money. That amount has partly been used. And then we've supplemented what we could then through the Community Monuments Fund. And that has to be spent from year to year. So what we do then is, well, what we have done is we have got together a plan, a conservation and management plan. The National Monument Service and the National Museum and the Wildlife Services, all of these have contributed to the plan. The council has contributed to the plan. We've had architects, conservation architects, we've had ecologists, everybody has got involved, put together the plan, and then the plan then identifies the urgent work and the less urgent work. So for 2021, what we've tried to do is to do the work that makes the two of the three castles as safe as possible, so that anybody walking around under them isn't going to be injured by a falling stone or whatever. Yeah. So that was the aim really this year, to get the urgent
very
safety
structural repairs.
Yeah, the works that really, make the place safe.
Yeah.
And then next year we'll be doing other works, and that the other works next year would involve, say, putting back parts of the fabric that we know we have evidence for, say putting back windows, putting back doors.
Brilliant.
And ultimately then, hopefully we will have a very strongly consolidated, viable piece of fabric, sustainable piece of fabric.
And when you say putting back in windows and doors, you mean with glass and that, or just the framework, or?
Well, we have three castles, and if you look at them, Terryland Castle is always going to be a ruin.
Yeah, and fantastic work on that as well.
But it's going to be a conserved ruin, and for many people looking at it over the years that they always would have said, oh, you know, that chimney looks unsafe and whatever. We've been able to get up and consolidate that. It's good now for another 500 years. You know?
Brilliant.
So that's a Towerland. Merlin Park is a totally different kettle of fish because it's one of the finest examples of a Towerhouse locally or nationally. Harold G. Leesky wrote a book on Irish castles way back in the 40s, and he always maintained that Merlin Park, or Dewishka Castle as it's called, is the epitome of a typical Irish Towerhouse, but a very good example of it. And we're lucky in that the castle itself is in state ownership, though the grounds on which it stands are owned by the City Council. Towerland is owned by the City Council completely. Yeah. Menlo is owned by the City Council completely. But in this instance, in the case of Merlin Park, it's actually state owned, but we have a lease. Galway City Council have a lease of the castle.
Okay.
And we have a lot of support from the National Monument Service and from the Architectural Advisory Service to put a roof on the castle.
That would be fantastic.
Well, it would be ridiculous not to, when you think that you have scaffolding up here at the moment. Scaffolding on the inside, scaffolding on the outside. You're conserving, you're repointing all the way up, inside and outside.
Yeah. It
would be ridiculous not to, once you get to the top of the parapet, not to put a roof on it.
And you have funding for that roof as well?
Well, the funding will be there because, you know, the councillors have promised the money over a certain period of time. And again, we'll be applying again and again. Every time the Community Monuments Fund comes up, we're certainly in there with another application. We probably won't get it every year, you know, some other place would probably be given a chance, and you know, and the money has to be spread around the country. But at the same time, you know, there are other sources as well and other means of getting it done. But I think really, ultimately, it would be a disgrace not to roof Merlin Park Castle,
especially since it's such a, you know, it's got all its walls and...
It's got all its walls, but if you look at its context, it's right in the arc, the horseshoe of a modern housing development. People are using the woods, people are using the castle, people are wanting to get into the castle. It would be ridiculous not to allow people to make use of the conserved, restored castle. I mean, it has to be, for the life of the building itself, for its sustainability. The best way to sustain and to conserve and to ensure the long-term preservation of any sort of a protected structure or a recorded monument is to have it in use.
Oh, absolutely.
It's proven, you know, I mean, if you use it, then, you know, even from the point of view of air circulation, the way the mortar sets, the heat that's generated, all of these things contribute to the long-term preservation.
And we've seen in Merlin Woods, you know, over the years, you know, especially with Friends of Merlin Woods, and we do a lot of activity and raising the profile of the woodlands. Yeah. The more use the woodland gets, the less the antisocial behaviour as well. Yeah. You know, so, and we could say the same about the castle if the castle was in use as well, you know. It could be providing income for itself as well, you know, through community use and through different projects.
Yeah. Well, when you think of it this way, when the castle was in use, when people were living there, they were conserving, they were just maintaining their walls, the field walls around the castle. They were coppicing the woods. They were doing all that sort of thing. Friends of Merlin Woods have brought that tradition and those crafts up to the present day. These are crafts that are, you know, they need to be revived, coppicing, stone walling, all of these skills and whatever. And, you know, the building is being conserved by expert stone workers. Yeah. It'd be great if people seeing the work would be able to participate in it some way by having a course centred around the castle. Now, we already do it to some extent, you know, I mean, Friends of Merlin Woods have done the coppicing, the stone walling or whatever, and City Council, year after year, we have had the annual field school. Yeah. And we should be working together, the field school and Friends of Merlin Woods, you know, to complete an awful lot of work that has been started. But these things need to be constantly done, and They need to be constantly in the public eye, and indeed public participation. And if the public participates, they benefit. They benefit from the point of view of their education, they benefit from their general knowledge, they benefit from, you know, the healthy vibe generated by being in the woods, and the you know, the community garden is there, you know. So all of these things work in tandem.
Yeah.
So you have a huge aspect. You have built cultural and natural heritage in the woods, all working together. And if they're working together, they should benefit the community in which.
And that's something we can see. We can see, you know, through community enterprise. You know, if we upscale our community, or the sense of pride that people would feel seeing the castle restored or seeing walls restored. You know, people take notice.
Oh yeah.
And they have a pride when they see the woods being looked after, or the castle being looked after. You know, because for so long there was nobody, you know, in looking after or whatever. So it's really important for them when they see, you know, even if it's the paths that the city council have repaired and you're bringing people in for walks. All of this is noticed and appreciated.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, the work that's done on the castle will be really appreciated by the local people as well.
Well, the castle can serve as an anchor, as a base from which to have walks. You know, long term it would be lovely to see maybe a coffee shop or something there.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see events, lectures, talks, whether it's on wildlife, whether it's on castles, whether it's on architecture, whether it's on built heritage, whether it's on insects, butterflies and whatever it is. Or just even to have a concert in it.
Yeah.
I mean, what a you know, there's no community hall in that big crescent area.
No. No,
where,
and I mean
where all the people are living.
No.
Why not make use of a building that, you know, we want it to last another 500 years, another 1,000 years or whatever. Why not make use of it?
And then of course there's loads of outbuildings as well, you know, so this could keep the community going for years and years and years with projects.
Oh, well, there's no end to that, you know.
I
mean,
think
you know,
there's enormous, with enormous vision we could have a fantastic place that would serve not only the surrounding communities of Merlin Woods but also the whole city.
Oh, well, you know, as you often say yourself, it's one of the lungs of the city. That the woods are fantastic, you know, and you know, even with the summer school, we can see that people, they might come to the Merlin Woods for the first time and they might say, God, I didn't realise this was here. This is fantastic.
That is some of the lines you always hear.
Yeah. And they might go with the intention of learning about the archaeology. And then they might go on a nature walk.
Yeah.
And then they might do all of the other things. And they come out with a great awareness, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
But they enjoy the whole atmosphere of the place as a result, you know.
Brilliant.
So it's great, you know.
So thank you very much, Jim. That's
You're
fantastic.
welcome.
And we're looking forward to the rest of Heritage Week and your walk as well with us.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.